Early morning, let's explore meditation-induced hallucinations. Ooh, trippy. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two, but first, oops, wrong button. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Princess Leia on Ajahn Kloss under the guidance of Luke Skywalker, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question, about Buddhist meditation, or philosophy, or chanting, do not be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of your screen. Whoops, wrong button. Let's try that again. There we go. So, about 6 hours ago, Equivalent Run 7632 on Reddit posted the following question, which makes me a little bit reminiscent of The Sixth Sense. I see eyes during meditation, spirit focus. I see dozens of eyes appearing, then quickly disappearing as I meditate, or in intentional disassociation. So right there, meditation is not supposed to be disassociation. So let's explore this real quick. There are ways to induce all sorts of trippy things. That's just a fact. The question is, are those things spiritually productive? Well, what's spiritually productive mean? Well, according to the Buddha, when we look at the Buddha's teachings through the lens of evolutionary biology and neuroscience, it becomes quite clear that although we cannot control the presence or absence of every type of suffering, we sure are good at making it worse. How do we do that? Well, we evolved to have a very ancient set of survival drives. Their presence is seldom the problem. The problem is whether they are controlling us or not, whether they are controlling our choices or utterances or deeds. So the liberation the Buddha offers us is not liberation from our primary survival drives, but from their tyranny. That's it. So the question is, the things we do that we think are spiritual, are they helping us to be free from the control of those impulses? The Buddha taught that there were 7 enlightenment factors. The first one being mindfulness. If we are practicing disassociation, we are actually repressing our mindfulness. So according to the Buddha's point of view, we are hobbling ourselves. And while we might be able to have all sorts of interesting and perhaps entertaining psychic experiences, they will not be productive. They will not help us to become the person that our dogs already think we are. They will not help us to become the resilient, loving, resourceful, peaceful, joyful, happy person that we want to be. Let's move forward. So the person who wrote this question continued. Almost like the Eye of Horus, many blink and eyeballs move, like Mad-Eye Mardigan from, Harry Potter? Let's continue. They look at me, but also through me, all seeing, but do not necessarily have much life or soul behind them. So, let's explore this for a moment. Of all the mammals, primates are unique in the complexity of their brain, save for the category of a sea mammal known as, that begins with a C, but would include whales and dolphins. So we're in a very small group: primates, whales, and dolphins. But of all the primates, the one with the most complex brain is the human. And one of the things about humans is we seem to have evolved in such a manner that we look for connections. The problem is we're so good at finding connections that we find them even if they're not there. So we're really good at false connections. That's why for thousands of years, human philosophers who have respected the pursuit of the truth have studied logical fallacy, a cognitive bias, so that we would refrain from fooling ourselves. So the human mind hates meaninglessness, and so it'll look for meaning sometimes where there is none. It'll look for order in the midst of chaos, even if order isn't there, and it will and where there is no order, it will imagine order. That is why our ancestors were so good at finding patterns between the stars in the night sky, in the pre-industrial night sky of the Paleolithic and then of the Paleolithic era. So when we see random patterns in meditation, our brain is already wired by evolution to look for patterns. And what we see tells us more about our beliefs and our health and our emotions and our impulses than they do about the actual experience. Not unlike a inkblot or I'm going to mispronounce this, Rorschach test. My late stepfather used to tell a story, maybe you've heard this one before. A psychiatrist is sitting with a patient and he shows him an inkblot and he says, "That's a naked woman." Shows him a second inkblot and he says, "That's two naked women." Shows him a third inkblot and that's a naked woman and a naked man. And after a while, the psychiatrist locks eyes with the patient and says, "Sir, you have sex on the brain." To which the patient responds, "I have sex on the brain. You're the one with the dirty pictures." So what we see tells us more about... So sometimes, I've got glasses. I don't wear them when I'm this close to the computer. But I've got glasses, and sometimes, often, they get dirty. That's why I don't wear them when I eat, because I'm a slob. And it's just... And so sometimes what my visual experience with my glasses tells me more about the state of my lenses than it does about the state of the environment I'm in. Same thing with meditative visions or hallucinations. The meaning, if we desire growth, growth will not be found in analyzing the meaning of the visual, of the hallucinations. If we want growth, meaning comes from what we do with the hallucinations. If we use the hallucination as a tool to practice mindfulness, perception, and release, that can benefit us. If the hallucination serves as an object upon which to practice or with which to practice contemplations of love or contemplations of letting go, that can serve us. But if we look at them as an ends unto themselves and we just try to figure out what they mean or how to manipulate them or how to control them, all we'll be doing is indulging our yang tendencies, which are the opposite of our yin tendencies. Now this could come as a great big hairy shock, but especially because of the culture that most of us are raised in. But most of us are raised in cultures wherein we're supposed to be go-getters and make things happen. We're supposed to be rigid and not compromise. We're supposed to be rigid and fearful and controlling and elitist and special and competitive and when necessary, cruel. Man, even Shakespeare's Hamlet said, "I must be cruel to be kind." Really? Because when we look at the yin characteristics, they're the opposite. Instead of being rigid, they call us to be flexible. Instead of being fearful, they call us to be loving. Instead of being controlling, they call us to be laid back. Instead of being elitist, they teach us to be egalitarian. Instead of being competitive, they teach us to be cooperative. Instead of being cruel, they teach us to be kind. So if this is the direction we want to go, we must not engage our rigid tendencies and our controlling tendencies. It's fine to have thoughts, it's fine to have feelings, but don't hold on to them with white-knuckle intensity. There's a rather a raunchy saying, maybe you've heard it before, never trust a fart. Because sometimes what you think is a fart is actually your body getting ready to defecate all over itself. Those of us who've ever had food poisoning have an intimate experience with that scenario. Similarly, don't trust an emotion or a hallucination, a sight, a sound, a sensation, a flavor, a scent. Just take it for what it is, a momentary experience. It's empty of independence, it's empty of permanence. It might seem graspable as you breathe in, it won't seem graspable as you breathe out and relax. If we forsake rigidity and embrace flexibility, then no hallucination can harm us. If we, in our rigidity, are certain that what we are perceiving is 100% true, then yes, they can. They can, if you've ever seen any of the Omen movies, the way the demonic influences killed people wasn't by coming out of hell and punching them in the nose. It was scaring them, and people would run away from an hallucination and into traffic, which I wouldn't recommend. So when we see hallucinations as hallucinations, the amount of harm they can do to us is minimized. Now, can they store our emotions up? Yes. And are some emotions painful? Hell yeah. But in the long term, they really can't harm us. So let's tie this up in a big red bow. The purpose of meditation is not to generate hallucinations or analyze hallucinations. If you're experiencing hallucinations, make the most of it during your meditation session, either by blending mindfulness and meditation by noticing and releasing, or by actively contemplating, performing the contemplations of love or the contemplations of letting go. If the hallucinations persist and you find them disturbing, then seek the help of a psychiatrist that you feel makes you feel heard and gets good results for you. If you don't have one of those, then scroll down in the description area below the video and you'll find a free resource, the PCRM Physician Guide. And they'll help you find an MD who practices psychiatry in a manner that is informed by the latest peer-reviewed studies concerning the correlation between diet and body and mind. And now that we've beat that horse into the ground, let's move on to this morning's formal practice. But before we do that, whoops. before we do that, I'd like to take a moment for housekeeping. Every day I live stream 4 meditation classes without any ads, health permitting. With your assistance, this channel could help to support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If you think that's a good idea and you want to help out, that's great. Even if you can only help out for the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, that's fine. Simply use your smartphone's camera to capture this QR code, or if you're old school, scroll through the description area below the video until you find a donation link. And now, enough of that, let's dig in. So let's play with the latest iteration of secular Tantra. We're going to begin with a preliminary practice where we practice contemplation or vipassana, also known as vipassana if you prefer Pali. All right, let's make sure that the display is still synchronized and move on. So there in Tibetan Buddhism, there is a set of 4 contemplations known as the 4 thoughts. They are often taught from a regressive or fundamentalist or fear-oriented worldview. I try to teach it not from a regressive worldview, but from a progressive worldview that is peace-oriented rather than fear-oriented. If you prefer fear-oriented teachings, I'm probably not the teacher for you. Not to be mean, but I just don't want to disappoint you. Some people really like a good scare. They can't be happy unless someone with a bad haircut tells them they're going to hell. So anyway, we're going to play with a rhetorical question. The nice thing about a rhetorical question is that its power comes not from the answering, but from the asking. So let us silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation. As we breathe in, we could recite the first half of this question, how could this? And during the exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, feel stressful. So we're just locating areas of stress in our body or emotion or imagination or memory, and we're doing it passively. And we play with the second rhetorical question. How could this have causes? This, the magic pronoun this, is whatever we're experiencing in the moment. Pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring. Now we come to the truly exciting rhetorical question, how could this never last? This really helps us to let go. And the great irony is yes, we can contemplate impermanence in a very dry and abstract sense, but when we contemplate the impermanence of something we're feeling viscerally, it's much more profound. And the great irony is that physical or emotional discomfort is a huge opportunity to contemplate in a really productive way. And this is not supposed to be masochistic, it's just a consistent observation, which can fuel our experience of gratitude, which is why we can then silently and mentally recite how this chant's quite precious. And by chant, I mean recite silently and mentally in harmony with your inhalation, exhalation, and relaxation. Sometimes our minds are just spontaneously mellow, then we meditate. When our minds are spontaneously creative, we contemplate. So sometimes, last week or the week before, I was having some flashbacks to a really unpleasant incident more than 30 years ago that I'd forgotten about. And so I was in a very creative state. My mind was not mellow. I played with these four contemplations over and over, and it really helped me to process it. It might help you as well. So this is a piece of tantric art. It is known in Sanskrit as Samantabhadra Karma Mudra, in Tibetan as Kuntu Zangpo Yobyum, and in English as All Good One, Mother and Father. The iconography of this yidam, or archetype of enlightenment, functions merely to organize 8 figures of speech necessary for deeply transformative contemplation. So we don't have to worry about whether this depicts a real or imaginary celestial entity. We just play with figures of speech and let the magic of metaphor do its work. For we have evolved to think symbolically. Now, even though I set things, I'm going to rearrange this text for a moment. Please bear with me. Okay, well, things are being a little bit scattered right now. Please bear with me. 1, 2. So I'm going to hit cut and go back to the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And hit paste. Now I'm going to jump forward again and play with the dance of impermanence and interdependence. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to cut that, jump back. Okay. So we're going to actively contemplate the dance of impermanence and interdependence. So I think I'm going to silence my phone. Life is a little bit easier that way. So in Buddhism, we play with the 4 bases of mindfulness. In this context, those bases would be the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. So we're going to bring the circumstantial and we're going to use the monosyllabic term lots as a synonym of circumstances. Into the path of impermanence and interdependence. How do we do that? Well, we use the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence, the contemplation of which could help us to leapfrog over our clinging tendencies. We're going to use the inference of absorption as a metaphor of interdependence, the contemplation of which could help us to leapfrog over our competitive tendencies. So it's not our job to actively visualize what it could look like if all circumstances, including ours, blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our body. But we can play with those words in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation. And we might notice we start letting go into form how lots melt. And yes, this is another rhetorical question. We don't have to believe anything. We don't have to theorize. We're just playing with words and letting them wash over our mind like a shower down our back after a hard day's work. If you've just joined the live stream, welcome aboard. When you have questions about Buddhist meditation or philosophy, simply type your question in the chat window. My only request is that your question be highly specific. Now we're going to switch gears, and this time we're going to bring the physical into the path, into the dance of impermanence and interdependence, into speech, how forms melt, and we could allow ourselves to wonder what it could feel like if all bodies of all beings, including our own, blissfully melted into rainbow light that absorbed into our speech faculty. We can now bring the interpersonal into the path of impermanence and interdependence. And we could allow ourselves to wonder what it could feel like if the speech faculty of all beings everywhere, including our own, blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our mind. Remember, it's not our job to answer these questions. These are rhetorical questions. Therefore, if all we do is silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with our inhalation and exhalation and relaxation, that's enough. That's enough to accomplish the Buddha's path. And we come to the final of the four contemplations, where we bring mind into the dance of impermanence and interdependence. And we can allow our inner mind, our viscera, to wonder what it could feel like if all minds, including our mind, now blissfully melted into rainbow light, then now absorbed into a vast, empty expanse. Now, what's a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is ungraspable to the fingers? And now it's time for awareness and letting go, which is known by many names, including great completion stage, or Zen, or Chan, or Dhyana. And it's very simple. As we breathe in, we're going to notice the play of mind. And as we exhale, we will relax into mind's non-graspable nature. How will we manage that? Simply, as we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite, watching this. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing. The screen might go nuts, I will send you that email. So, just like the contemplation, we're not actively watching, we're passively watching. Our eyes might spontaneously point down or straight ahead or up. It doesn't matter. Let your eyes do what they do spontaneously. So it's not our job to hallucinate. It's also not our job not to hallucinate. Whatever we see or experience, our response is the same. We watch and we release. This is a great exercise to do the next time you pass a mirror on the way to the shower and you're displeased with what you see. Because life is long and bodies change. We switch gears now to love and letting go, which is known by many names, including generation stage tantra or creation stage tantra. So, through the power of words, we guide our intention to lovingly wish that all minds of all beings now be as wise as a Buddha's mind, symbolized by this image right here. And no, it's not our job to visualize. Going to take an editing break. Do bear with me, if you please. Okay, now the screen may go nuts, so I'll do my best to adjust that right now. Okay, well that's taken care of, which is a very nice thing. And copy and save and hide. Excellent. So, through the power of words to guide our intention, we now lovingly wish that each being's experience of the interpersonal be as loving as a Buddha's speech, symbolized by this mantra right here, which basically means rely upon the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. We now switch gears and lovingly wish that all bodies of all beings now enjoy the health of a Buddha as depicted in tantric art. And for our final love contemplation, we lovingly wish that all circumstances of all beings now enjoy the good fortune that a Buddha enjoys as depicted in tantric art. We now contemplate letting go. Copy. Excellent. Okay, here we go. Let us contemplate. So let's contemplate something really neat. As we breathe in, our circumstances are easily seen. And yet, as we relax into our exhalation, these exact same circumstances could feel as non-graspable as a cloudless sky. Let's play with this right now. How are lots seen yet void? Now let us contemplate how as we breathe in, our bodies could feel rather sensual. And yet, as we relax into our exhalation, these exact same bodies could feel as if they were as non-graspable as a Buddha's body of light, or a vast empty void. Now let us contemplate how odd it is that as we breathe in, our experience of the interpersonal could seem rather resounding. And yet, as we relax into our exhalation, this exact same communication could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a mantra comprised only of light, or as a cloudless sky. As we breathe in, how is it that as we breathe in, our minds could, the functions of our mind's ability to perceive sight, sound, sensation, flavor, scent, and the like, our mind's ability to emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine. How is it that as we breathe in, our mind's ability to function could appear to us rather clearly, and yet as we relax into our exhalation, these exact same minds could feel as non-graspable as a real or imaginary syllable comprised only of light, or as a vast, empty void. Now that we have loved and now that we have let go, we turn our attention to bliss and letting go, which is known by many names, including completion stage, Tantra. It's remarkably easy. As we breathe in, we feel We feel the play of sensations, and as we breathe out, we relax into sensations of non-graspable nature. How do we manage that? It's simple. As we breathe in, we silently and mentally recite, feeling this. And as we exhale, we silently and mentally recite, relaxing. So what is this feeling denoted by this? It could be superficial or deep, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Let us seal our practice with wish for well wishes for all beings everywhere. Let us wish that all minds of all beings now be as wise as a Buddha of lore. Let us lovingly wish that each being's experience of the interpersonal be as loving as a Buddha's communication symbolized by mantra. Let us lovingly wish that all bodies of all beings would now be healthy, would now enjoy the supreme health that we see Buddhas depicted as enjoying in tantric art. Let us lovingly wish that all circumstances of all beings now enjoy the supreme good fortune that we see Buddhas depicted as enjoying in tantric art. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window, give this live stream a thumbs up, and share it on social media. In approximately 3.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead this afternoon's meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.